Hi, testing, testing, testing. Hopefully this is okay. I'm going to go ahead and read this piece that I published a little while back called One Day My Dream Will Come True. It is already coming true. I wrote the following in a Facebook post on this day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in 2018. Here it is presented again with very few edits, surprisingly. Happy MLK Day, y'all. Do something good for yourselves. Do something good for your family and neighbors. Do something good for our world. One day we will confront and help overcome anti-Blackness, anti-Indigenousness, and the self-hate that comes from the colonized mentality. We will show up for our neighbors' struggles. They're not only linked, but are indeed the same. We will praise these bodies we are in. We will give ourselves the cure and the healing we so richly deserve with full generosity. One day, our Lolos and Lolas, our Titos and Titas, will hear and respect what we have to say, just as we are taught to do for them, by them. One day, our siblings of mixed race will be called sister, brother, sibling, cousin, kapatid, just because they are a whole, not a half. One day, it will be okay if we cannot speak our parents' languages, and we will be accepted as we are by our community. One day later on, we will find the will, the courage, the time, and the resources to self-learn, self-teach our languages, our arts, our histories, and pass on this knowledge to each other. One day, we will be able to hold space for our people who have suffered, to speak the traumas that bring our silences and our mistrust into being. And with these ugly words, we will see their ugly effects. And with these words, we will begin to address the wound. One day. One day, we will not just be survivors. We will no longer be victims. We will be victors. We are the victors. One day, we will recognize that the lived experience of each of us is valid, is varied, is beautiful. Whether your families come from somewhere in Luzon to somewhere in Mindanao, whether you're a doctor from UST or someone with a high name or some shade of Kayumangi. One day our women and girls will no longer be trafficked. One day our caregivers, yayas, and domestic workers will not be abused but treated with dignity. One day our folks who are LGBTQIA+ will feel fully safe in Philippine XAO spaces. One day our families won't have to separate to survive. One day our veterans and their grandchildren will receive their medals of honor. One day our Lolas who are comfort women will be lifted up and their grandchildren receive justice. One day our Rizal Center in Chicago will be restored to the entrust of the community. One day it will be open to the entire community and remain accountable to it. It will be physically accessible. It will contain resources for all, from a library of books, recordings, walls of artwork, artifacts, spaces for Philippine XAO community organizations to hold business and events, art spaces, Eskrima spaces, Tagalog, Ilocano, and Philippine and pre-Philippine language spaces. Something that will serve the Philippine XAO community in Chicago and the Midwest. Something Rizal would actually be proud of one day. One day, the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago will open its collection vaults of 10,000 artifacts to anyone of Philippine XAO heritage and or scholarly research wanting to see and learn about our material culture and history, free of charge. One day, the Digital Co-Creation Project will find necessary resources to continue with community-led programming at the Field Museum. One day, our artifacts will be restored to their rightful owners. One day. One day, our cousins will see that the U.S. is not the land of milk and honey, but for the genocide and violence and imperialism that has built this global system. We will see that our struggles are linked and the same. One day. One day, we will recognize the right of humans to survive by migration and welcome them to a home where they are seen and recognized for who they are and what they already are. One day, documents will not prove a person's being. One day. One day, we will look at nature as being a part of us, our world as being one of us, a world in which we are a world which we are the custodians of. One day. One day, if we are lucky to return to our ancestral home, we will see all the sacrifices, great and small, done to make just one life possible in what seemed impossible. One day, we might be welcomed home with open arms. That's what I put. Thanks for reading. For the next letter, I'm writing on the road from Atlanta and point south. For the rest of this month, I'm migrating to be with my mother at her home. Be well, y'all. And then, yes, find out more about the King Center in Atlanta here. So that's it. It's a little bit of a shorter one than previous times, but hope you liked it. I will put the link in the notes here if you want to read along or subscribe to my newsletters. Have a great day. Happy Friday.